ओम सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिना सर्वे सन्तु निरामय सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. So welcome to our Saturday morning session. We will continue on our topic, evil in the world, why? We already discussed several aspects of this issue, that when the divinity is all around us, he is inside, he is outside, he is up, he is down, he is all pervasive. Why do we still have evil? When divinity is pervading the entire universe, all this world where we live, why there is evil? Why there are crimes? Why there are murders? Why there are wrongdoings in this world? So now we will go to a very profound answer to this question. We have already examined it from the Christian viewpoint, from the Buddhist viewpoint, from Jainism side. We have also seen the answer given by the theory of karma and Maya. Now we will go to a most profound answer which has been given by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. This is the question raised by Arjun, and I will read this out because that will make it very clear to us. Now, Arjuna is asking Krishna that, when you are pervading the entire universe, why there is evil? While the people are doing wrong things, what is the cause of that? That cause has to be explained properly. So this is what Lord Krishna says. This is chapter 14 actually. And in the beginning of the chapter itself, he starts from that. And he says that I will explain you the most profound knowledge on this issue. So, first of all, we should understand, it is important to understand what is our origin. This was also discussed earlier, that one part of human body is coming from nature, that is the physical side, and another part comes from consciousness. This was also explained in great detail in Kshetra Kshetrajna, the chapter number 8, I think, of Bhagavad Gita. No, 13th, chapter 13. Now, in this chapter, in the very beginning, Lord Krishna explains how human being comes into being and how he comes into this world. And this is, I have not seen such a profound explanation anywhere else. Now, I will read out the verse number 3 and 4, and then we will start from there. Verse number 3 of chapter 14 reads like this. Mam yonir mahat brahm tasmin garbham dadyamaham sambhava sarva bhutanam tato bhavati bharat. And verse number 4 reads like this. Sarva yonesu konteya murteya sambhavanti ya tasam brahm mahardayonigram bij pradpita. The meaning of these verses is that this nature which we see with 5 principal elements, Panch Mahabhut, that is made of space, which provides the place to have the theater, air, the movement, the fire, the energy, the water, the liquid, and the earth, the solids. These five elements constituting the nature, they are Garbh Yoni, that is the Garbhadhan ka sthan hai, that is the place where impregnation happens. Impregnation takes place in the nature with the five elements of the nature participating into the process. And the Almighty, that is me, is injecting consciousness into the process so that a human being, or not only human being, all the living beings come into existence. So these are the two constituents that make us, that make the human body. We all know that we are made of five panch tattvas. The body is made of five elements of nature. This is also clear from the fact that when we eat food, the food becomes our body. That is the process. A fetus is formed into the mother's womb. Then slowly it grows because of the food which is coming to the baby. That food keeps adding to the size, and when we are born as a child, and the food we are eating keep adding to our body, and we become, larger and larger in size. Now this food comes from five elements. We all know this is also scientifically proved. The photosynthesis requires earth to hold a plant. It requires sunlight. It requires air and water. And of course, it requires space. So the five elements of nature go into every plant which is grown on this earth. Every plant has a component of the five elements of nature. And those five elements of the nature are injected into our body through the food we eat. And therefore, those five elements constitute our body. We also know that at the time of death, we all say, ये पंचभूतों का शरीर पंचभूतों में विलय हो गया. This is what we say. So the body constituted of the five elements goes back to those five elements. That is, the recycle takes place in the entire universe. It is not only for human being, but all existence which is there in this universe, whether it is living or non-living, whether it is moving and non-moving. In fact, in Vedas, they don't say call it living and non-living. They call it moving and not moving. The one which has movement, the one which does not have movement. So all these elements have, they constitute body of the human being as well, apart from other things. So this is one point which is clear. And the consciousness is injected, and then the body comes into, the being comes into being. Now this is also one of the questions which was raised at long time back, that what is the time when the life comes into the fetus. And I want to reiterate this again, that without the life coming into the fetus, the formation of fetus is not possible. The formation of the fetus starts when the five elements and the life, they get together and start working. So that is the point where the life actually begins. Now, in the verse number 4, Krishna says, actually this is further explanation of this verse number 3, that नाना प्रकार की सब योनियों में जितने मूर्तियां अर्थात शरीरधारी प्राणी उत्पन्न होते हैं, प्रकृति तो उन सब की गर्भ धारण करने वाली माता है और मैं बीज को स्थापन करने वाला पिता हूं. So it is the Almighty which provides the seed for the consciousness, and the womb is provided by the nature, and the combination of two brings us into this existence. So this is one part, and we will explain this in a greater detail as we move forward. Now the question arises, what is that which, there is a very fundamental question that the consciousness is infinite. How does it become finite? So the body-mind complex makes this consciousness finite. The infinite is converted into finite through the body-mind complex. Now this body-mind complex, which comes from the nature, has three attributes of nature. The five elements of nature give birth to three attributes of nature. These attributes are called Sat, Raj and Tam. These are the three attributes which are part of the nature. There are good qualities. Sat doesn't necessarily mean good quality. Sat means the qualities which are lasting and which are considered, higher in nature. The Tam is considered the lowest. It is considered a sort of, creating obstruction in the process. And Raj is the one which provides movement, which provides energy, which provides, what you call, the gati to the world, the whole movement to the universe. Now, what are these three gunas? That is what will explain the whole process. The three attributes of nature, they trap the human soul, and that is how the human soul becomes a victim of these three attributes. And firstly, it becomes limited. Secondly, it acquires those, it doesn't acquire, but it becomes a prisoner of those three. And the whole concept of moksha is to getting out of this prison of the three attributes of nature. That is the whole concept of. Now, how these three attributes trap the soul into the being. Now, this is what very finely explained, that the sattva gun, the quality of being higher in the life, that traps human soul through three different ways. One is it provides you sukh, it provides you happiness. When a person is in sattva gun, he generally gets good quantum of happiness. The happiness, when you start getting, you feel happy and you are trapped, because then you get attached to that sattva gun. This is attachment to sattva gun. It traps you, and therefore you are bound by the sattva gun in this world. That is one way. The second part is knowledge. When you acquire sattva gun, you acquire higher knowledge. And when you acquire higher knowledge, it boosts your ego, that I am, more knowledgeable than the rest. And that ego again works as a chain or an entrapment for the soul, keeping us in this world. The third is vairagya. Now, this is a very fascinating side. Why vairagya should keep you entrapped? You see, rag is the one which keeps you trapped into this world. But vairagya is also an opposite of rag. When you start getting detached, then you feel that you have risen higher than the rest. And that again keeps you under an illusion that you are better than the rest. And that gives the rise to ego. And that is why vairagya in the beginning, in the first few stages, keeps you entrapped. So these three forces, the sukh, the gyan and the vairagya, these are the outcome of sattva gun And these three help you in trapping into this world. The people who are in Sattvagun, in fact, they have higher tendency of getting trapped into the world because they are enjoying that. They are enjoying the knowledge, they are enjoying the happiness, and they are also enjoying the initial part of Vairagya. So that is why you tend to get encharmed, you tend to get spellbound, tend to get charmed by this whole process, and you remain attached to the world. So that is how the sattva gun keeps you attached into the world. Now rajogun. Rajogun, how it keeps you trapped into the world. Rajogun keeps you trapped into the world. Firstly, it gives you desires and desires and desires. There's an infinite cycle of desires which sets into motion with Rajogun. And then it gives you energy to fulfill those desires. For example, you look at a politician, he wants to have higher and higher ambition, and he ultimately wants to become president or prime minister of a country. So those desires and that energy keeps you engaged into the world, completely engaged, one after another. Not only that, once you become very powerful, then you want to acquire more wealth. You want to have control. And that is why there's a nexus between the rich people and the politician, because politicians want to acquire wealth and the wealthy people want to acquire power, or vice versa, whatever may be. So this nexus keeps you fully engrossed and engaged into the world. So the Rajogun gives you energy, it gives you desire, it provides movement to the world. Movement in the sense that you start activities. For example, a sportsman wants to become Olympic champion, he starts working in that direction. He puts all his energy. The movement starts, the activities start. An industrialist wants to become a very rich industrialist. So he puts his energy, he wants to start new innovations and new products, and his product mix keeps increasing, his marketing capacity increases, his financial capacity increases. So all that starts. Same way, a person who is looking for prestige in the society does the same thing. He does one philanthropic activity, then he publicizes that, then another one, then third one, and then he is trapped into that process. He has to maintain those, what you call, level of activities, and that is the Rajogun which comes into force. It keeps you entrapped. So that is the second gun which keeps you entrapped into this world. And third is Tamogun. Now, how Tamogun keeps you entrapped? Tamogun is actually, it has three qualities. Firstly, it keeps you enchanted. It keeps you in darkness, that is Agyan. And thirdly, it actually keeps you pramad. Pramad is a very profound word in Sanskrit, which is not easy to explain in any other language. It basically means that without knowing things, you become arrogant. You have a feeling that you know, you don't know, but you have a feeling that you know. That is your perception, and then you become arrogant. So these three things: lack of knowledge, the pramad, that is the mix of the two, and then darkness. Darkness in the sense lack of knowledge, but also darkness in the sense of what you call enchanting, situations. Like people who get drunk and they keep drinking and drinking after getting drunk because they are enchanted in that process. So there is a enchantment that keeps you mohit, that is the enchantment. It keeps you in darkness, that is without knowledge. And then thirdly, the mix of the three, that is enchantment, darkness, and at the same time ego. All three, that is pramad. So these things from the tamogun keeps the human soul fully enchanted in the process. And enchanted means you are attached, you are entrapped. So that process continues. That is how these three attributes of nature keeps you trapped into the human body as well as into this world. That is how. Now, the further part of the explanation on this issue, because we have deviated little bit from the evil to the human being, how we come into being and how we remain trapped into this being. But it is directly related to the evil in the world. That is why it was important to deviate little bit and to understand this fundamental of our existence. Now, each one of us has all these three attributes of nature. Satrastam in everybody. In fact, even the so-called Devtas, the divine souls, even they have all the three attributes of nature. They cannot exist without that. But there is a way that you can overcome them. Now, why the evil happens, first of all? The evil happens because of these three attributes. The consciousness has nothing to do with evil. The Almighty, which is existent inside us, outside us, is there up in the sky, is down in the space, he is closest to you, he is farthest from you, who is what you call omnipresent and also omniscient. He is knowing everything. Still, he is not involved in the nature and in the functioning of these three attributes. These three attributes of nature function on their own. These attributes make us move in different directions. Let me explain this in the form of a vehicle. You have a car. In the car, you have an accelerator, which provides movement to the car. The acceleration is moved. The car is static. You accelerate, it moves. Then you have a brake, which you need to halt it whenever halt is needed, or wherever you need to slow down the speed, you use the brake. If there's a traffic light coming, you use the brake to slow down and halt it. So that halting process is more like tamogun. The movement process by acceleration is more like rajogun. And the balancing process of the two, which you also use your steering and you use the speed and the lack of speed to balance the movement of the car, that is sattvagun. We can compare it roughly in that sense. So all the three are needed to make the vehicle move. For example, if you don't have brake and the movement is given, there's no way that thing will stop. For example, if there's no Gurutvakarsan, there's no gravity in the universe, and you throw a stone, the stone will keep moving for infinite time. There's no way to stop it. So the gravity stops it. Similarly, the brake stops the car. The car is moving, the force has been given, the movement has been given by acceleration, and then if there is no way to stop it, it will keep moving forever. That is what happens to the objects which are thrown into so-called geostationary orbit. They keep moving into the geostationary orbit for infinite time because there is no gravity there. For lack of gravity, they cannot stop. So that is what happens if there is no tamogun in the life. So the tamogun is also essential to provide a break to the life. To provide the movement to the life, you need rajogun. And to provide the balance, you need sattvagun. So all three are needed to make us run this world, to make the life move. In fact, in the broader sense, the energy of Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh is comparable to these three attributes. You see, Brahma is the one which provides movement by giving birth. So the movement is given by Brahma, that is the sign of Rajogun. He gives birth to this universe and the movement is given. Then Mahesh is the one who puts a halt to it by creating destruction. He destroys everything, a halt is given to this movement and the world comes to a halt. Then again the creation starts, the birth restarts after the pralaya, what we call, after the complete delusion or devastation. In between, you need to balance the life. When the life is on, the birth has been given by Brahma, and the death has not happened because Mahesh has not acted as yet. And as a result, you have a life in between. How do you balance that life? To balance that life, you need Vishnu. Vishnu is the one which helps us in balancing the life. There's a balancing factor between the since the time of birth till the time of death, and that balancing factor is regulated by Vishnu. So these three forces actually in a way are symbolic of the three attributes of nature, which is Sat, Raj and Tam. And these three attributes are essential ingredients for running this universe. Without these three ingredients, the universe will not run. Now, how the evil comes into the process? Evil comes into the process because of these three attributes of nature. When there is excess of darkness, excess of agyan, when there is a lot of pramad, I mean the tamogun is dominating in some person, naturally he will tend to do things which are not right. He will tend to do things which could be considered as evil in terms of human existence. In terms of our ethics and moral values, those will be considered wrong things. Those will be considered unethical, illegal, illegitimate, or crimes, or whatever name you give them. So that could be one reason. Even when you are propelled by the Rajogun to do lot of activities, take any field. You take the field of music, dance, sports, even work, at home, the industrialist, the political science, everywhere the Rajogun pushes you. The maximum it is in politician, that is why they were called Rajas. Raja means the maximum amount of Rajogun. That is also the quality of Kshatriya, that he has a lot of Rajogun, he wants to act. He is the one who can go up to the last fight, that is the fight of life, that is the death. He is not feared of, he is not scared of death. That is the last, what you call, climax of Rajogun, the life. So this life which is there, it provides movement, but in the process of movement, you also become greedy. The greed comes into the process. The more you acquire, the more you want, the more you acquire, the more you want. The geometrical progression gets into motion. So once you have a scooter, you want to have a car. Once you have a car, you want to have a bigger car. If you have 2-3 cars, then you want to have a helicopter. Once you have a helicopter, you want to have an aircraft. So this process moves and moves and moves. It never stops. I have seen people who are billionaire, still they want to have more. They don't know what will they do with all that wealth, but the desire to have more is there. So that greed sets into motion because of Rajogun, and that greed actually results into the evil forces. It invites evil into the world. Because of your greed, you do not care for the others. You start snatching their assets, their power, their wealth, their prestige. This is what happens. As the big fish eats the smaller fish in the ocean, similarly, as you become bigger and bigger in this world, in terms of power, in terms of wealth, in terms of prestige, you try to gobble up all the rest. And then the evil sets in. There is a fight. The smaller forces fight against you, but then you don't allow them to succeed. They are crushed aside, they are destroyed, and the evil comes into being. So this is how the evil comes through the Rajogun. Then the evil comes through Sattvagun, which, let me explain that how the Sattvagun brings evil. Though the Sattvagun brings knowledge, it brings happiness to you. It brings even vairagya to some extent. But even then it also brings evil because it brings ego. Ego of a person who is endowed with Sattvagun is actually higher than that of person endowed with Tamogun. You will find people, the so-called sadhus, the so-called great spiritual leaders in the world, their ego will be highest actually. They would even expect the Prime Minister and the President of India to touch their feet. That is the kind of ego they have. The ego of the people who are supposed to be endowed with Sattvagun is the maximum you can imagine, and they remain entrapped into that because they are enjoying that. They don't even feel that it's evil. It's called good outside because you have knowledge, you are happy, everybody is praising you. So you are fully enjoying that process and you don't even consider it as evil, and you are entrapped. So these three gunas, the Satgun, the Rajgun and Tamogun, they keep you fully entrapped. Now these gunas have also been scientifically proved in the modern world. You see, the modern world looks at this creation, this universe, as a collection of various atoms. They look at the matter. That world is made of matter. You see everywhere there is matter. You look at for example, you look at this notebook. It's made of some matter. You look at a pen and pencil, or you look at this mouse. All these are made of some matter. So the modern science feels that this world is collection of matter, and that's what the Charles Darwin's theory is, that the matter interacts with each other, and because of that interaction, at some point, the consciousness came into being. So that is a different theory, which is in contrast with what we are understanding now. What we are understanding now is that two different forces, that is the nature and the consciousness. The consciousness is injected by the Almighty, and the nature is, combination of the five elements, which gives rise to these three gunas. So modern science is analyzing the mysteries of this life through the matter. They want to break the matter and find out what is this matter made of. So they went to the particles, they went to the atom, and then they broke the atom, and they also came out with the three parts of atom, that is called proton, neutron and electron. These are the three particles of matter which the modern science has discovered, which is exactly the same thing as we look at Tamogun, Rajogun and Sattvagun. In the language is different, but the explanation and functioning is the similar. In atom you have proton, which provides movement, You have neutron, which stops the movement, which is halting in the process like a brake, and electron, which is balancing between the two. So this is the explanation given by the modern science. This explanation was given by our, wise people, wise saints and rishis thousands of years back in time, that this world is, the material part of the world is made of three attributes, that is Sat, Raj and Tam. And the consciousness comes from the Almighty, that is the most scientific explanation of the existence. That is one part. Now, why the evil comes, this I have explained now, how the Satgun, how the Rajogun and how the Tamogun contribute to the evil in the world. Evil in the world is not contributed by the Almighty, not by the Divine. It is not the function of the consciousness. It is the function of the three attributes of nature, Ras, Sat and Tam. They interact with each other. They are contributing to all the evils. They are responsible. So don't blame the Almighty when something wrong happens in the world. No, don't blame Him, because He is not contributing to that evil. The evil is coming out of these three attributes of nature. This is the function of these three attributes. This is reflected in our actions. Our actions are driven by these three attributes all the time. Whether we accelerate, whether we brake, whether we balance, all these three attributes are guiding us. Analyze your life. Analyzing everybody, each one of us analyze our life. There was a time when we had an ambition to acquire knowledge, go to the big educational institution with good name, good education. Now that was what? That was the Rajogun which was driving you there. It was not your consciousness, it was the Rajogun which was driving you there. You want to become a big sportsman, it is the Rajogun which is driving you to become an Olympic gold medalist. So that was you want to become a great musician, what drives you? The driving force is that energy which is coming from the Rajogun. If you want to acquire become CEO of a big institution, what is that drives you inside? That is again the Rajogun which drives you inside. And there's people who don't care. They are lazy, they are sitting at home, don't care what happens. What is driving them to become lazy? It is the Tamogun which is driving them to become lazy. And they are not only lazy, they become, very arrogant in themselves. That pramad that comes to them, that also is the function of Tamogun. Now, what is that? That gun is making you lazy. The gun is making you what you call very arrogant, without knowledge. Now that is happening because of this Tamogun. Similarly, Sattvagun, making you happy, making you famous, making you knowledgeable, but at the same time, it keeps you entrapped. So these three gunas, they are the one which drive you. Why a person is engaged in charity? He is engaged in charity because he is enjoying that process on the one hand. He feels it's a good task. At the same time, the Rajogun pushes him to do more and more, and he acquires that I should do more and more and more and more charity work. Now that is the process which he is engaged in. So every single action we do in our life, every single action underlined, is driven by either one of the gunas or the combination of the three gunas. Either it is the function of one guna alone, or it is the function of a permutation and combination of the three gunas, which makes us do the things. And then doing means that is the action which will have reaction. So which we discussed the theory of karma in our last session. So the theory of karma, which is driven by this these three gunas, because the three gunas are at the base of our actions, and that action which we do brings results, brings reaction, and that reaction is becomes what? Karmic results, those karmic results. And that is how the action reaction works, and that is how the evil comes into force. For example, I'm being pushed by tamogun, and I'm very lazy, I'm relaxed, I'm arrogant, I don't care for anybody. I will do certain things which will offend others, which will hurt others' ego. So then reaction will be created, they will hurt me, and a competition of, working against each other will start. And that is the activity of evil starts in the world. That is how. You see, for example, look at these terrorist organizations. What is driving them? Them, there's a rajogun, lot of energy which is driving them, driven by a very blind faith that is more like tamogun. Without understanding, without knowledge, they are driven and they become very arrogant and very energetic. That is the force of tamogun. Now that force makes them terrorists, and then they kill people, they go around creating evil around the world, and that evil creates its own reaction, and then counter evil is created as a result. So this is how, if you analyze these gunas, their functioning, how they motivate us to do things, and how our things finally invite reactions, resulting into what we call creation of evil and counter evil in this world. That process starts like this. So this is the most fundamental explanation and most scientific explanation I have understood anywhere in the world why the evil exists. The theory of God and Satan doesn't take you very far. Even the theory of karma takes you up to a bit, but why these karmas happened, why you did wrong thing, that is explained by this process. The theory of Buddha, why the people have dukh in life, that has not been explained in that theory. He explains, yes, there is a dukh, and you can overcome the dukh through 8 different what you call methods which he has given to overcome dukh. That has been explained, but he has not given the basic cause of dukh in Buddhism. Similarly, in Jainism, there is no proper explanation. In Islam and Christianity also, there is no proper explanation of the evil. This is the most profound explanation why the evil exists in the world, how it interacts, what it is caused by, and how the counter forces are created when the evil is operating in the world. So I would like to conclude this chapter with verses number 11, 12, and 13, explained once again. The verse number 11 explains the qualities of Sattva Gun when the Sattva Gun is increasing and how it operates in the human being. 12 explains Rajogun and how the Rajogun operates. रजोगुण के बढ़ने पर लोभ प्रवृत्ति स्वार्थ बुद्धि से कर्मों का सकाम भाव से आरंभ, अशांति और विषय भोगों की लालसा, ये सब उत्पन्न होते हैं। एंड तमोगुण के बढ़ने पर अंतःकरण और इंद्रियों में अप्रकाश, कर्तव्य कर्मों में अप्रवृत्ति और प्रमाद अर्थात व्यर्थ चेष्टा और निद्रादि अंतःकरण की मोहिनी प्रवृत्तियां, ये सब उत्पन्न होते हैं। तो जब मनुष्य में सत्व गुण की वृद्धि होती है तो मनुष्य को निर्मल, वो उसका स्वभाव निर्मल हो जाता है, बट वो उसको सुख भी देता है, ज्ञान भी देता है, बट एट द सेम टाइम इट कीप्स यू एंटर्ड। सो फंडामेंटली द थ्योरी ऑफ द थ्री गुणास is the foundational theory of good and evil in the world. All the good and evil in the world can be explained in terms of this theory, because this theory provokes you to do certain actions, and those actions result into what we define as good and bad, evil and positive forces in this world. So this explanation is ours, but in terms of running this universe, all these three forces are important. Without the combination of these three forces, the universe cannot be run. No life force can exist without that. The very balancing of life is impossible. And therefore, these foundational qualities are the one which interact with each other. This interaction of the gunas with each other, your guna interacting against my gunas, and my guna interacting with somebody else's guna, they give birth to the so-called good and evil in the universe, and that is how the evil forces are, operating. That's how the perfect explanation I could find is in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14. But of course, it requires some greater thinking, in-depth thinking, some meditation on this issue, how these qualities operate. The consciousness is only a witness to the entire process. The consciousness is not operating, and therefore the Almighty is not operating. The divine force is not responsible for either the good or the evil which is happening in this world. It is the interaction of the three gunas which are operating through our actions. The interaction is only through the human action. The other species of life do not have that thinking power to operate in different ways. They are driven more by their basic instincts, you see. Their instincts of hunger, their instincts of thirst or sexual desire, they are driven by those. But we are the one who are having a very well developed mind, and therefore we operate in a different context. And those three forces of attributes of nature, they make us operate in different level, in different way, and those actions are the one which are creating evil and counter evil, good, whatever you define. So this is the explanation I wanted to give on why the evil exists in the world. So I would conclude this topic today, and I'm thankful to you for your very patient hearing.